This isn't about a YouTuber getting a seat in a race car. That's the easy version of this story. That's the version that's comfortable to talk about. The real version is harder, and most people in this sport aren't saying it out loud yet. What Richard Childress just didn't just sign a driver. It changed who gets considered for a seat in NASCAR. That line is already gone. And once that changes, even quietly, even just once, it doesn't go back to the way it was before. That's what this video is actually about. Garrett Mitchell, known online as Cletus McFarland, 4.6 million YouTube subscribers, owner of a short track called the Freedom Factory. He did not come up through the traditional NASCAR pipeline, and before anyone says he's putting in the work, he's earning it. Yes, he is. That part is real. Nobody is taking that away from him. But here's what's also real. The reason a legendary team owner opened this particular door wasn't purely performance. It was reach, full stop. The moment reach enters that conversation, even once, even with the best intentions, everything decided after it is different. Most fans don't hate change. They hate realizing the rules changed without being told. That's what's sitting underneath this entire story right now. And that's what nobody is saying directly. Yet Richard Childress is not a desperate team owner, chasing a quick check. He built RCR from nothing. He stood in garages with Dale Earnhardt. He has outlasted trends, recessions, rule changes, and every era of upheaval this sport has thrown at teams like his. When he makes a move, it isn't noise, it's a signal. When people pushed back on this one, he didn't get defensive. He pointed straight at the numbers. He said if even 10% of nearly 5 million followers start showing up to races, that's something traditional driver development cannot manufacture. He's not wrong about that. But here's what nobody is asking. What does the driver who spent 10 years grinding through late models think? When the guy with the subscriber count gets the call first, that driver exists. That conversation is happening right now. Richard Childress just made it a lot more complicated. And whether that feels fair or not, reach is no longer outside the system. That's already decided. The debut at Rockingham didn't just put a new name on the track. It moved numbers in a way this sport hasn't seen from a single debut in years. A 12% ratings increase. An 11% jump in total viewership. That's not noise. That's not a feel-good story about a fan. Favorite getting a shot, that's behavior change, measurable, documented, and every team owner saw that number. The kind of result that ends up in a presentation inside NASCAR's offices before the end of the year. Once a team sees that a driver tied to a massive audience can move ratings that fast, the conversation changes. It stops being, was this a good debut? It becomes, what happens if we do this again? That question is already being asked. Not publicly, but it's being asked. Results don't stay isolated. They become templates. The problem isn't that this happened. The problem is that it worked. Whether fans like it or not, NASCAR already proved this works. And once it's proven, it doesn't stay a one-time decision. It becomes something the sport has to reckon with permanently. That's where NASCAR stops being purely performance-based. Even if nobody says it out loud, that line is already gone. Here's where this conversation gets uncomfortable. What's actually at stake here isn't one driver or one team or one debut at Rockingham. It's what now counts as qualification in NASCAR. That's the real question. For decades, that answer was simple, hard, but simple. You earned your way in. Late models, trucks, Xfinity. Every step up the ladder meant something because you proved something to get there. Performance was the only language the sport accepted. Nothing else moved the needle. Nothing else opened doors. That was the standard. Everybody understood it. Everybody operated inside it. Now there's something sitting beside performance that's already been proven to influence outcomes. Reach. And the moment reach produces measurable results, it stops being extra credit. It starts influencing who gets a seat. Reach is no longer outside the system, it's already inside it. And that's when NASCAR stops being purely about who is fastest and starts being about who is most valuable to watch. Even if nobody puts it in a press release. Because here's what actually changed at Rockingham. It's not that a YouTuber raced in NASCAR. It's that a YouTuber raced in NASCAR and the numbers went up immediately. Fans don't argue about change. They argue about what they feel they're losing. And right now, a lot of fans feel something shifting underneath this sport. They just haven't fully named it yet. Now there are two paths into the same seat. One built on results, one built on audience. Once a sport has two definitions of what earned it means, it no longer has one. standard, it has competing ones. And competing standards don't stay quiet. They spread. Now here's what nobody in this conversation is focusing on. This isn't the first time NASCAR has tested a media-driven entry. There have been celebrity crossovers before. Unconventional paths. Drivers who came in on the strength of who they were off the track rather than what they proved on it. Most of them faded. Most didn't survive real competition. And for a long time, that was the answer traditionalists pointed to. The track sorts it out. The performance standard protects itself. The pipeline holds. Reach doesn't last. But this time is different. And different in one specific way that makes every previous argument irrelevant. This time, the numbers backed it up immediately. And every team owner saw that number. That's what makes this moment matter. Not that it happened, that it worked. It's not an experiment anymore. It's a proof of concept. Proof of concept becomes strategy. Whether fans like it or not, NASCAR already proved this works. That's not speculation. That's how sports organizations respond to data. Reach is no longer outside the system. It's already part of the qualification conversation. And whichever direction wins from here changes NASCAR permanently. Not gradually, not slowly. Permanently. That standard doesn't exist in its original form anymore. That's the part fans are feeling but not fully saying yet. Here's where I land, and I'm going to say it straight. Richard Childress didn't make a reckless decision. He made a rational one. The data supported it. The results backed it up. At that point, fairness stops being what decides opportunities. It becomes about what works, plain and simple. But NASCAR has never survived on what works in the short term alone. It survived because there was one shared understanding across every level of this sport. A seat meant you earned it on track. That was the unwritten contract between the sport and the fans who built it. What's shifting now isn't just who gets an opportunity. It's what earning it now includes. Reach is now part of that definition, whether anybody admits it openly or not. And that shift doesn't stay with one team. It spreads through sponsorship decisions, through development priorities, through future choices that start asking, not just how fast is this driver, but how many people are watching them, how many followers, how much attention they bring through the door. Nothing here is hidden. Nothing is unfair in a technical sense. Everything is visible. Everything is logical. Everything checks out on paper. But that's exactly what makes it so difficult to argue against. In NASCAR, the written rules don't change often, but the unwritten ones can change in a single decision. And the moment Reach starts influencing who gets a seat, those unwritten rules don't disappear. They just stop meaning the same thing they used to. The fans who built this sport through decades of loyalty deserve to hear that said clearly, because they already feel it. They just haven't seen anyone say it directly yet. So I want to hear from the people who've lived this sport. Not the ones who found it last year. The ones who handed it down to the next generation. The ones who understand what it meant when a seat in this sport was the hardest thing in racing to earn. Do you think Reach should be part of what qualifies a driver for NASCAR's second highest level? Or do you think the moment that standard moves, even slightly, even once, something permanent changes about what a seat in this sport is actually worth? Because Richard Childress answered his version of this at Rockingham. The answer he left behind for the rest of the sport is still being written. Drop it in the comments. This conversation is just getting started, and the people in this sport who've been here the longest are the ones whose opinion matters most right now. Not the new audience, not the followers. The people who were already here, the most dangerous. Changes in this sport never announce themselves. They show up as one smart decision from one respected man that makes complete sense the day it happens. No alarm, no warning, no debate until after it already worked. And every team owner saw that number. And then the sport looks up a few years later and realizes the standard that protected it for decades was quietly replaced. Not by an outsider, not by someone who didn't understand what they were touching, by someone who understood exactly what he was doing, and did it anyway because the data told him to. That's what Richard Childress put on the table at Rockingham. The unwritten rules didn't disappear. They just stopped meaning what they used to. The qualification standard didn't get announced, it just shifted. And that's the part that doesn't get undone because once it works once, it becomes the standard ass.